Buongiorno, my name's Lorenzo, I'm half Italian and I grew up speaking Italian with my family. Today I'm going to teach you everything you need to know, including phrases and vocabulary, to confidently be able to walk around an Italian supermarket, including talking about common foods, how to pay and common requests that you might find. The way that it's going to work is I'm going to talk about vocab first and then discuss some phrases towards the end, all illustrated with some beautiful visuals that I've created. Let's get started. Okay, starting off with some vocabulary, we could have il supermercato. It's just going to be in the supermarket, the grocery store. No prizes for guessing that one. Moving on to the shopping cart or trolley, you would say il carrello della spesa. Now you can just simplify this to il carrello, no problems there. Della spesa is just shopping cart. Okay. General word for just a smaller store or shop, doesn't need to be a supermarket, could be il negozio, like I need to go to the negozio. Can be any kind of store, doesn't need to be just food. La Cassa is going to be the till where you pay. Please pay attention that you don't conflate this with la casa, which means house. La Cassa is specifically where you are going with the till. I notice with a lot of my students that maybe come from speaking English, that is a slight confusion, so just pay attention. Il cestino is just simply going to be the basket. Again, you can add the della spesa to mean shopping basket, but cestino is totally accepted and understood. La busta is just going to be bag, could be plastic bag, could be cardboard bag, could be whatever it is, but la busta is going to be your bag. Moving on to looking at different sections within the supermarket, you could look at la macelleria. This would be where you find meat, all kinds of different fresh meat. You could go to the panetteria to look at bread, so normal bread, focaccia, a lot of different kinds of bread available in Italy that maybe aren't available if you're traveling there, so definitely check this section out. Pescheria is really going to be the fishmongers. Obviously, if you're traveling near the sea in Italy, please do check this out. And finally, gastronomia. This would be more like the deli section, so where you would have your sliced meats, cheeses, olives, sun-dried tomato, this kind of stuff. Again, sometimes you might see it as gastronomia, sometimes you might see it as deli. Make sure to check that out. Looking at specific names of individual foods that you might find commonly, we would have la frutta for just fruit. We could have il pane, just meaning bread, blanket term for bread. Il formaggio, again, it's just cheese in general. A lot of different kinds of soft and hard cheeses in Italy, but il formaggio, blanket term. La verdura is going to be vegetables. You'll see this on restaurant menus as well, but la verdura. Il latte, again, blanket term for milk. If you wanted to look specifically for soy milk or oat milk or something like this, it would still be il latte, and then it would have something appended to it on the end, like di soia, for example, for soy milk. La carne, general term for meat. Il pesce, general term for fish. Make sure you look out for this. La pasta, okay, no surprises. It's just going to be pasta, lots of different types, but blanket term is la pasta. Il riso is going to be your rice. L'olio d'oliva is olive oil, so olio d'oliva, very famous, obviously. Lo zucchero is going to be your sugar. Look out for that if you're baking. Il sale, or even, of course, if you're just getting a coffee somewhere, lo zucchero. Il sale is going to be your salt. Il burro is going to be your butter. Don't worry too much about rolling your R's there. That's just something that Italians do to show off, but il burro is the butter. Finally, l'acqua to mean water. Quite an important one in Italy. You can't drink tap water all over the country, so a lot of people buy their water at the store, so make sure you know l'acqua, okay? Looking at some actual terms maybe related to payment, we would have things like lo scontrino, which is just your receipt, okay? Lo sconto is going to be discount. Il resto, this is the change that the cashier will give you if you are obviously paying with cash. Il prezzo, just going to mean price, so you could implement that into some questions, how much does this cost, etc. L'offerta is just going to be the offer or discount, bargain, whatever you have as well on there, okay? Okay, looking at some actual longer phrases and questions that you might ask, you could have things like dove si trova il reparto frutta e verdura, simply meaning where is the fruit and vegetables section. We could ask for help by saying mi può aiutare a trovare il latte di soia. So a bit of a mouthful, let's say that one again. Mi può aiutare a trovare il latte di soia? So here, if you're just going to say mi può aiutare, it's just a blanket way of saying, can you help me? And it's the polite way of saying it as well. So mi può aiutare. If you wanted to ask whether they have a certain item in stock, you could simply say avete and then the item. In this case, avete il pane senza glutine? So avete and there you go. And of course you would say this to a store employee or whoever's working there. Okay, next up, some questions related to payments. You could say posso pagare con la carta? Can I pay by card? In some small towns, if you're driving off in the hills in Italy, you might not have a card machine, so posso pagare con la carta. You might be asked, vuole lo scontrino? Would you like a receipt? Again, we saw scontrino was receipt earlier, so if they ask you a question about this, it's probably going to mean, would you like one? To ask for a bag, you could say, posso avere un sacchetto? Which is, can I have a bag? Sacchetto refers back to when we had cardboard or paper sacks of, to carry the groceries, but you could also say busta here. So posso avere una busta, posso avere un sacchetto. Finally, two useful phrases for you. You could say vorrei mezzo chilo di, and then whatever you want. So mezzo chilo di prosciutto, half a kilo of prosciutto. In a lot of European countries like Italy, meat and cheese are cut for you at the counter depending on how much you would like. So I'd suggest learning the different weights here, but vorrei mezzo chilo di is nice and helpful. You could also just say sto solo dando un'occhiata, which is I'm just casting an eye, I'm just having a look. So if you're in a store and a salesperson comes up to you, sto solo dando un'occhiata. Maybe slightly less relevant in a supermarket unless you're just looking at the caviar section and someone comes up to you, but you could just say, just having a look. Thank you very much for watching. Have a look at these videos next if you want to learn even more vocabulary.